The Elgato Prompter software just got a big update that added what I think is probably the most requested feature. The prompter can now listen and actively track your voice while you're speaking. And in fact, that's what my prompter is doing for me right now. I can read this text as slowly or as quickly as I want, and the prompter will keep up. I can even skip entire sentences or sections and jump right back in to the part that I want. And if I need to add something to the script on the fly, I can just keep talking. I can just go off script. I don't have to press any buttons or do anything. Everything I'm saying right now is not in the script. Can you tell? I'm a loose cannon right now, a loose Nikon. The prompter will keep the script paused until I jump back in. It's awesome. So here's how that works. Camera Hub is the app that controls the prompter, and version 1.11 adds voice sync, which tracks and adapts the script to you. The initial update does support English, German, Spanish, French, Dutch, Italian, and Portuguese, and I wouldn't have been able to remember those without the prompter. And Elgato did say that support for more languages will be added in the future, so hopefully those aren't too far behind. Voice sync does work on both macOS and Windows, but it does require at least an Apple M1 processor, or for Windows, an NVIDIA RTX 2060. So with that in mind, here's how to use voice sync. Once the update is installed, you can see my script right here actually. Once the update is installed, you'll notice that there is a scrolling section of the prompter tab, and this now has a voice sync option, which you can click to enable it. The first time you do this, it might take a few seconds to initialize and kind of get everything up and running, but after that, it should be pretty instant when you click on the voice sync tab. And then pretty much from there, all you need to do is select the microphone that you want to use. I am using voice sync right now, so I can't click this setting, but I'm using my Rodecaster Pro, a microphone in my Rodecaster Pro, but you don't have to use the microphone for the prompter. That's the same microphone you're recording with. Most of the time, it probably does make sense to do that, but like right now, I'm actually recording my audio with the DJI Mic 2, but the prompter's listening to me through a microphone connected to my Rodecaster Duo. And there are a few other options you can adjust, including the reading position and highlight. Reading position lets you center where you want the part of the text that you're currently reading to be. So some people like it to be higher up so they can see kind of what's coming down below, and others like it to be closer to the middle or the lower part of the screen. So it's really just kind of all personal preference. And the highlight option, I'm gonna turn that on and see, there we go. You can see it on mine right now. The top part of my screen got a little dark, and you can sort of see where my reading level, not my reading level, but the level of the script. My reading level maybe doesn't sound very high in this video. The part of my script that I'm reading, my position, you can sort of see where that is on the text that's highlighted right there. I think it's a great option. It's not something that I really personally like using because it's sort of, I find it a little bit distracting, but I am really glad it's there. I think it's a really helpful thing, and the fact you can just turn it off with the click of a button is pretty awesome. So from there, once you've got those settings dialed in, you just press play, and then you'll see a notice in the upper right part of your prompter that says getting ready or active. The first time you use it, or sometimes if you load a really long script, it might say getting ready, but then it should switch to active. I have had a couple of times, this is not in the script, I have had a couple of times where it says getting ready and then it switches to inactive, and I don't know why, and I just restart the Camera Hub software and then it's able to work again. So, you know, it's still some little bugs and things, but it's really, really good overall, and it works incredibly well. And so once it's active, you press play and your script is active, you can still scroll through your script and scroll through your script and scroll through your chapters just like normal if you kind of need to jump around. And if you press the pause button on the Camera Hub software, that will turn off voice sync. And that is all there is to it. Now, I have used voice tracking in a few other prompter apps over the years, but I was never really happy with it, and I never really relied on it because it seemed like it was almost great. It was like a tease of what good voice tracking could be, but it was just unreliable enough and just frustrating enough to not be super useful for me. I think that Elgato's implementation is so much better than anything I've used because it genuinely follows you, me referring to you, which means that you don't really need to think about it too much. The script is just right there. The speed adapts to you on the fly, and like I said earlier, the best part is that you can go off script and then get back on track seamlessly, which I've done a lot in this video because I have a hard time staying on track. For example, if I'm reading this sentence here, and then I get back on track here, voice sync keeps everything in sync, so you can say bye 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 to prompter frustration. This also means that this works really well for outlines and bullet points, not just full-on scripts, which is what I personally use most of the time because I don't want to lose the conversational tone and feel on my videos. I don't want it to feel like I'm reading a script, but I also don't want to make mistakes when it comes to things that do need to be super specific. Like earlier in this video, I said you need to have at least an NVIDIA RTX 2060 to use voice sync on a Windows computer. I don't know what that is. It's a graphics card? I know that much, probably, but I didn't want to get the name wrong because it would be really important to someone who uses Windows and does know what that is to understand what specifications they need for this application. So basically, you can use a bullet point or a keyword as a cue for the prompter to kind of pick up and then move up to the next point, and then you can go off script until you're ready for the next bullet point. So those two things combined can make using a prompter very, very natural, both for you as the person who's trying to convey information and for the person listening or watching. They're not gonna feel like they're just watching someone reading a script off a prompter. The only thing I haven't figured out how to control via voice so far is scrolling forwards or backwards in the script. So if I do need to go back or do something or scroll down, I do have to still use my mouse, or you could use your keyboard or your Stream Deck or whatever you normally control a prompter with. Your pedal, I do have an awesome video on controlling the prompter with the Elgato pedal. And with that in mind, I have made quite a few videos about the Elgato Prompter since I got mine last year. And that's because it's one of the best tools that I've ever bought. And one of the things I really love, the prompter itself is great. The software has come a long way. Obviously, there's still room to grow. They started with the version 1.0, but it still, even then, was the best prompter software I ever used, because prompter software is usually quite terrible. But this software, the Camera Hub software, has gotten so many updates over the past year, and it seems like they really do listen to the user community. So something I genuinely encourage you to do, if you have an idea, if there's something you don't like or something you want to see added or changed, is reach out to Elgato. Send them an email, tag them on social media, do whatever you gotta do to get their attention. And if enough people do that, it could really make a difference about things you want to see changed or added in a future update. And speaking of things that need to be changed or added, thank you to everyone who helped support my channel through Patreon and YouTube channel memberships for giving me a chance to change the end screen and add your name to it. And if after all that you want to know more about the Elgato Prompter, check out some of my other videos on this absolutely awesome device right here.